Hey everybody, Sneaky Narcotic, back at it again with another YouTube video, and today we're going to go over some more Theros Beyond Death in-depth spoilers. Before we get into the actual video, guys, let me please ask y'all to like, share, and subscribe. It would mean so much to me, and I would greatly appreciate it. Before we get into some actual spoilers of the video, I do want to tell you guys how I look at these cards. So first I look at them through the eyes of Standard, then the eyes of Commander, then the art itself, and lastly the flavor text. I think all of these are very crucial ways of looking at these cards. I do know that Legacy and Modern exist, and of course Pioneer I go over a little bit, sometimes Historic as well, but I do not play Legacy or Modern, so I do not want to make assumptions off of play styles that I don't even play. Also, I do want to mention that these are non-sanctioned leaks. These leaks, I believe, came from, some of them came from a Walgreens leak, where Walgreens had the product out on the shelves way before they were supposed to, so I do apologize in advance for some of these pictures. They are not the best, and I already had to photo edit them to be readable at all, so I do want to apologize in advance for that. But without further ado, let us get into our first spoiler of the day with Athreos, Shroud-Veiled. It is a 4 generic, 1 white, 1 black, legendary enchantment creature, god, mythic rare. It has indestructible and says, as long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, Athreos isn't a creature. At the beginning of your end step, put a coin counter on another target creature. Whenever a creature with a coin counter on it dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. And it, of course, is a 4/7. So for those that do not know devotion, it is a word we saw in the last Theros sets. It basically says in the CMC right up here, this counts as 1 white devotion, and this counts as 1 black devotion, so it matters about the mana symbols in the CMC themselves. It's kind of cool that we see enchantments come back, enchantment creatures, per se, come back. This also lets us know that the gods might be making a return, which is pretty sweet. They were super powerful, super sought after in Commander, but I have been told from the previous Theros standard that I was not a part of, that they were also pretty good cards and fun cards to build around in Standard. Now, I do believe that they said that this is going to be the buy a box promo, so you will have to buy a actual box to get this card. But as far as buy a box promos go, this is honestly one of my favorites so far. You know, if you overlook Nexus of Fate and everybody's favorite, the Kenrith. Of course, I'm speculating that that's everybody's favorite. I don't like Kenrith, which is why I assume it's everybody's favorite. Anyways, this card gave me a couple different thoughts. So the first thought is that it reminds me of kind of a Cauldron Familiar Witch's Oven combo, because this can just get added on. Since Cauldron Familiar is already in the Orzhov coloring there as a black card itself, it can be an added on how do I say it? Added on effect. Instead of just plainly killing the Cauldron Familiar with Witch's Oven and then bring them back with the food token, you can go ahead and do it an extra time because you can put a coin counter on the Cauldron Familiar. Now, that's pretty subtle, probably the lamest thing to do here, but I guarantee you that will see play somehow. I have a feeling, because Cauldron Familiar already sees play, that this will as well. Now, another thought I had is putting it on a card like Agent of Treachery that has a really, really good enter the battlefield effect. And then just continuously gaining control of creatures. Now, of course, you would need a sacrifice outlet, and Witch's Oven still is on the board, so you can possibly do Witch's Oven and get your Agent of Treachery back, and as well as a food token to keep you sustained in life. hopefully by then as well, you can have Athreos as a creature that's indestructible. That is going to be key here. If they do bring back the gods, they're going to be indestructible. So, at least in my opinion, this way of doing the indestructible creature gods is way better than it was on Amonkhet, where Amonkhet they had like certain conditions to attack and block. Here in Theros, you just need to make sure your devotion's good, and there are going to be cards that help with that. But anyways, my last idea for this is to put a Spark Double down. When me and my buddy Zach were going over this today, he actually talked about the combo of putting Spark Double down and having Athreos down at the same time. The first Athreos, the real Athreos, can put a coin counter on Spark Double Athreos, and then Spark Double Athreos can put a coin counter on real Athreos. So that way, even if there was some random way to lose their indestructibility first off, you would already be able to get them back, so they can target each other. As well as, you can start targeting 2 things at a time, and if you find another Spark Double, you can start getting 3 things at a time, and onwards. It's really kind of a snowball effect if you can somehow work it out in Esper. I believe it will find a way. Also, to mention this, I think when you Spark Double Athreos, since it is going to be, he enter the battlefield as a copy, since it will enter as a copy, I do believe that brings another white and black, which will bring your devotion up to 4. So then you only need to find 3 white and or black in devotion. Here's one of my favorite cards so far leaked. I don't know how to hold back my excitement for this card. I saw this version of it online, the art. I don't know exactly what this art is for. If it's like a collectible edition or what have you, but there is the actual art that I didn't find the second time looking on the line for it. But this is Ashiok Nightmare Muse. It is a 3 generic, 1 blue, 1 black, legendary planeswalker Ashiok. It is a mythic rare rarity. So, before we go into the actual loyalty abilities, I would like to say this first off. Ashiok has been only printed once before, as of my knowledge, as a planeswalker. And that wasn't the best planeswalker. I did see play in Standard for a time, and still sometimes in some janky decks. But this will probably be the first actual playable, it is the first mythic rare Ashiok of its time. So let's see here. +1. First off, it comes down for 5 loyalty, but +1. Create a 2/3 blue and black nightmare creature token with, whenever this creature attacks or blocks, each opponent exiles the top 2 cards of their library. It already passed the first test of a planeswalker. Can it defend itself? Yes. Yes, it can. -3. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that player exiles a card from their hand. Now, you have these exile effects. Let's see what its ultimate is. -7. You may cast up to 3 face-up cards your opponents own from exile without paying their mana cost. I don't know why it said the face-up part relatively, unless they're talking about morphs, but, you're casting 3 free cards for its -7. It comes down on turn 5 as a 5 loyalty. Automatically take that up to 6. The next turn, turn 6, take that up to 7. And then the next turn after that, turn 7, take it down. And there you go. You have cast 3 cards. And hopefully you find a way to exile cards by then. Here's some thoughts. Spark Double. That token that create a 2/3 and blue and black nightmare creature token, that token is insane, because also on top of it saying exiling 2 cards off their library, it does that to each opponent. So if you're playing Commander and you can have 2 Ashioks out on the field at the same time, that can get pretty ridiculous if you're trying to do a mill deck in Commander, which honestly I haven't seen a lot of. I know some people play Oathbreaker. I would love to see the plays in Oathbreaker of how this card could be good. I don't really know what spell would go with it, but I think it would be very interesting in Oathbreaker. I know the next ability, the -3 ability, kind of is cool too, because it can be an instant removal for a creature. If he has no cards in hand and you return that target non-land permanent, actually not even a creature, an enchantment, a planeswalker, and it's the only card in his hand, well, he has to exile it right there and then. That can get pretty nuts. I think this card, in my opinion, before going further in depth here, is as good as Oko, if not a little bit better, in my personal opinion. This can also combo very well with Drowned Secrets if you're trying to do a mill deck. This is the first Planeswalker, to my knowledge, that is focused kind of on milling. And you may say, well, it's exile. Well, I mean, the biggest flaw to milling is allowing them to be able to bring cards back from their graveyard if that's their shenanigans that they like. Playing graveyard shenanigans. That gets rid of it by milling away their cards. The other thought I had to this is if you do want to do this in a mill deck, it could be fun. Again, I understand the whole idea about exiling, but here's the other thing. There are going to be creatures now that we can exile cards from the graveyard, and then you can be a little less, I guess, choosy with the -7 ability. The last card I wanted to talk about that could help out a lot is Leyline of the Void, because if you play this in Dimir control, you can have Leyline of the Void, and then you ultimate it, and you bring back a card that it itself may not have even touched. That's pretty good. Maybe killing their biggest creature on the board, and then instantly the next turn, giving it to yourself. That would be pretty cool. I do want to say also, the -7 ability says cast, and it says 3 freaking cards, man. So, casting means no lands, but it is a cast trigger if you're playing, and it doesn't have to be permanent. It could be a sorcery, instant, enchantment, planeswalker. It could be anything other than a land. That's pretty cool. I really like this card. I could go on and on all day about this, but let's go to the next card, which I don't like as much. Elspeth's Son's Nemesis. Now, I went over this in the last video, but I wanted to go over it again because they put out the actual art and not just the art like Ashiok is here. They put out the actual art. So, Elspeth's Son's Nemesis, 2 generic, 2 white, legendary planeswalker Elspeth. It is of mythic rarity. It has -1. Up to 2 target creatures you control get +2/+1 to end a turn. -2. Create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. -3. You gain 5 life. And then it has an ability that's new in this set called Escape. Escape says pay the escape cost, 4 generic, 2 white, and exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its escape cost. I don't like this. It kind of feels like a really dumb version of not buyback. Oh man, I'm trying to think of the card. It'll come to me after this video, but it's something that Instance used to have. Flashback. Yeah, it reminds me of like a dumb version of Flashback, because you're paying all that mana, but you're also exiling cards from your graveyard. And the bad part about that is if you're going up against an Ashiok like here, if you exile the wrong cards, they could come back to bite you in the butt. Really don't know about this. Anyways, I do have thoughts about Elspeth. If we're going to do it, we might as well go big, go home. Glowspore Shaman. Putting cards in your graveyard to help you with that escape. Spark Double. I just, in general, think Spark Double is going to be such a good card for this set. I just throwing it out there again. Corpse Knight. So, if you're going to have this kind of weaker Planeswalker, even though it's mythic rare, I still think it's weak. you might as well give it something fun to do. So Corpse Knight, being able to put 2/1 white human soldier creature tokens down. Okay. There you go. There's 2 life dealt to your opponent, as well as Cruel Celebrant that lets you gain life and ping them for damage at the same time. So might as well throw this combo in there if you're going to do Elspeth, because the only thing that I really see, I don't like its -1. Its -3 is kind of dumb to me as well. For 4 mana, you can basically use its -3, -2, and that would be good. But those are 2 different turns, and then you escape, and guess what? You can do it again. -3, -2. So I really don't like this card. I think you'll see play somehow. Somehow, somebody will figure it out, crack the code on this card, but not I. I do not think I will. The rest of these cards are kind of a common dump, but it will give us a background for Theros Beyond Death. So if you want, you can skip to kind of the end of the video. I'll go over what I think is some good cards to go ahead and buy that are already out for certain play styles. And then also, I do have an announcement that I had heard from Wizards that I think you guys might find interesting. So, Rage Scar Berserker, 4 generic, 1 black, creature Minotaur Berserker, has common. When Rage Scarred Berserker enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. The Fury of the Slaughter and burns within him. I'm so sorry. I tried to make it more readable, and it's so still not. 5/4 for 5. That gives a target creature indestructible until end of turn. Could be playable in Sealed or Pauper, for instance. The only thing that really I have to say about this card is I've never really seen a black card give indestructible for. I know somebody in the comment section below is just going to slaughter me for saying that, but I really do not think I've seen a card in black say give indestructible. Fruit of Tizerus. So I actually think this card will see play. It is a 1 black sorcery common. Target player loses 2 life, and then you can pay its escape cost. So for 4 damage or for 3 generic, 1 black, and exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard, you can make an opponent lose 2 damage again. 1 spiny tree with bitter fruit grows in the realm of Tizerus, outside the palace of Erebos. So that's pretty neat, kind of giving us a little bit of background. And I kind of like how the freaking fruit glows. You can't really tell about the art on these because they're such bad pictures, but I do think that the art will be cool once we get there. I do also, before we keep going forward, want to say that Minotaurs might become a tribal, so maybe Rage Scarred Berserker might see play in Standard because of the Indestructible. You never know. The next card, Pious Wayfarer. So 1 white, creature human scout, common. They're bringing back Constellation here. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Constellation is going to be a key ability in this new set, and I really think that it might be overpowered. Obviously, this isn't a good example, but I feel like there will be some rares and uncommons that will just be OP as heck. So just keep an eye out on Constellation. I'll explain more at the end of the video, going over some of the cards that you should buy now. Every footstep is a prayer, every road a temple, and it is a 1/2 for 1 white mana. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1. So you can, in Pauper and in Sealed, possibly just keep on +1/+1 in your creatures, and since it doesn't say non-auras, you can actually really Voltron up a creature with it aura enchantment. So that could be fun. I think Pious Wayfarer could be fun in Sealed and Pauper. Nyxborn Marauder. 2 generic, 2 black mana enchantment creatures. So enchantment creatures are coming back. Again, with this Constellation, I think enchantment creatures will be kinda OP. So it's an enchantment creature Minotaur. It is common. Caliphate guided them into the darkness of Hetos, the Black Mire. Bloodhorn Minotaurs circled them, axes glimmer in shadows. The Caliphea. Just to let y'all know, I really don't know too much about Theros, other than what I've read about Gideon. So I don't know any of these locations at the moment. So it's a 4-3 for 4. Nothing really to write home about. Flicker of Fate. This was a really bad picture. This is actually like the lowest in lighting I could get it. So it's a 1 generic, 1 white. As you can imagine, instant common. Flicker. Exile target creature or enchantment. Then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. An infinite journey is an infinitesimal time. That is a hard word. Infinitesimal time. So, this card will probably see play because of Constellation, but also it can allow you to move an aura from one of your creatures to another creature, since it can be re-entered into the battlefield and attached to another creature. So I think this will see play. It's really interesting to see what they're kind of cooking up in the background. I know this was a non-sanctioned spoiler, but to be honest, I still feel like it's a kind of sanctioned spoiler just because they haven't given everything away, you know? Rapid Flames, 3 generic, 1 red, sorcery, common. Rapid Flames deals 1 damage to each of up to 3 target creatures. Those creatures can't block this turn. Bright Flames quell the darkest nightmares. So I really think in Sealed and Pauper, Rapid Flames will probably come in handy because it says your 3 creatures that you probably only have on the field, they can't block. So if you're playing in Pauper and you just were aggroing the mess out of it, which is in the right colors, it's in red, you can just say, hey, I'm going to make sure I get that last bit of damage in, well, get it in. So I like that. I don't think it'll see play in Standard. I know for a fact not in Commander, but maybe Pauper, maybe Sealed. Moss Viper, 1 green mana creature snake, common, and it has Death Touch. So it's a 1/1 Death Toucher. Nylea watches over all the creatures of the forest except for the snakes. Blessed by Farika. They can take care of themselves. Alright, snakes can take care of themselves with their 1/1 Death Touch in green of all things. Setessan Training, I believe is how you say that. It's a little blurry. 1 generic, 1 green, enchantment aura. Hey, here's the auras. It is a common. Enchant creature you control. When Setessan Training enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and has trample. So it's enchantment aura that basically gives your creature trample. I like it. In the heart of Sentena, the warriors of Linva tower defend the polis and train the daughters. I think. God, this picture is so blurry. And I swear to you, I've done some editing, I've messed with the contrast, and it's still this blurry. But anyways, because of another card I will mention at the very end of the video, I think this card is going to be really good. I think it's going to be super good, probably in a like budget standard competitive deck, to be honest. Let's see the next card here. Voracious Typhon, 2 generic, 2 green, creature snake beast. Hey, maybe snakes might be a trouble. It is a common. It has escape. Escape. 5 generic, 2 green, and exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. That is so lame. For Voracious Typhon, escapes with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So for 7 mana and exiling 4 other cards from your graveyard, which, let's be honest, if you're playing mono green Stompy, you may not have 4 you may not have 4 other cards in your graveyard, but let's say you do. Mono green Stompy would be the perfect place to play Escape because they don't care about their graveyard. Once a card's dead in green, it's dead. For the most part, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 resurrection spells in green. Typhoon's escape from the underworld makes armies flee and kingdoms fall, and it is a 4/4. So this is at least a better version of escape. I mean, it at least comes out with an actual bonus and not just something dumb. I think escape is such a stupid mechanic. Triton Waverider, 3 generic, 1 blue, creature merfolk wizard. It is a common. It has constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Triton Wayfinder gains flying until end of turn. You can no more stop me than you can halt the tide. And it is a 3/3 for 4 mana in blue that can fly sometimes. So I do think this card is at least interesting. I think that it might see play in, like, again, Pauper, maybe Sealed. You gotta play it in the right deck. You gotta be playing a Constellation deck. And again, this is going to show that Constellation might just be good once a turn, or it could be good multiple times a turn. So hopefully there's some better Constellation cards in the upcoming uncommon in the rares. So we'll see. Nyxborn Seaguard, 2 generic, 2 blue mana, enchantment creature merfolk soldier. It is a common. I wish we could see an enchantment creature today that was not a vanilla creature, but, you know, to each their own. It's a 2/5 for 4 mana, so that's okay, at least in Pauper. Storm-tossed and broken, Caliphate cried out to deep-dwelling Thassa. Tritons came swiftly to save her, bringing her north to the Lindis, the Caliphaea. Interesting. So that kind of shows that maybe Thassa, which is the blue god, if I'm not mistaken, is still on the plane, still alive, and still good. Although I didn't, well, it says Trident, not Bident, but for those that don't know, Kaora still hurt Bident. And I would really love it if they would print Kaora in the set, but there's probably not going to be a Kaora in the set. Naiad of Hidden Coves, 2 generic and 1 blue, enchantment creature nymph. Hey, an enchantment creature that's not vanilla. Love it. So it is a common. As long as it's not your turn, spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast, and it is a 2/3. So this is again going to kind of show something I want to talk about at the end. I'll kind of spoil it already. One of the 5 cards I bring up at the end is going to be Leonin of Anticipation. Naiad of Hidden Coves will make all of your non-land permanents, and non-permanents, it does include sorceries, 1 generic less per Naiad of Hidden Coves, because it's not legendary. So I think this card will see play in Standard, and I'd love to brew around it, see how broken I can make it. Waveborn, he watches over secrets of the shore. So Samia Melitian Poet. I love this card. I really do. I don't think it should be a common. Honestly, I think it should be an uncommon. Kinda glad it's a common though, because that means that I can finally use my freaking common wild cards in Arena. But anyways, moving onward. Eldolon of Philosophy, 1 blue mana, enchantment creature, spirit. It's a spirit, everybody. It is a common. 6 generic and 1 blue mana, sacrifice Eldolon of Philosophy, draw 3 cards. And what did Erkostos teach us in the nature of the soul? It is a 1/2 for 1 blue mana, and you can eventually draw you cards if you find the mana. This will probably see play. I say that, I don't think it will see play in Sealed or Draft or any of those, because it's so late game, and normally when I play Sealed or a 40 card deck, I only have like, I think 14 to 16 is my number, lands, so this is asking for half my lands to be able to do its ability. Otherwise it's just a 1/2, and there's no reason to have vanilla creatures. And keep that in mind when you draft. No reason to have vanilla creatures. I'm gonna attempt this word. Ichthyomorphosis, 2 generic and 1 blue, enchantment or a common. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a blue fish with base power and toughness 0/1. It says Thictus' military career was a flop. Oh, that was funny. We've seen cards like this, Transmorgify type of cards that just turn a creature, possibly their good creature, into just a crap of a creature. I will say that the escape mechanic can get around this, but I really think this will primarily see play in draft. If you're going to play blue, you might as well pick up as many copies of this as you can, because it basically will ruin their good creature. You just make their good creature into a 0/1 blue fish, and it doesn't have any abilities, so what's it going to do? Sit there and die? You know? Plus, it can also trigger Constellation. Leonin of the Lost Pride. 1 generic, 1 white creature cat warrior. It is a common. When Leonin of the Lost Pride dies, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. So here is one of those cards I was talking about earlier where you can just go ahead and mill, and then you can exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. To trigger, what's her face? Well, it's not a what's her face, it's a what its face. Ashiok. Leonin band together in the underworld, taking solace in their strength. United strength and toll at last. Both pride and self are forgotten. It is a 3/1. Dreadful Apathy. 2 generic, 1 white, enchantment or a common. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. 2 generic and 1 white. Exile enchanted creature. Those whose lives were uninspired are doomed to the wretched tedium of Phyllis in death. So, I don't understand the whole exiled enchanted creature on top of basically pacifying a creature, unless it just has an amazing ability that you want to get rid of. I don't really understand, but I think it will be all pacifism see playing sealed in draft. Indomitable Will. Indomitable Will. 1 generic, 1 white. Enchantment or a common. Flash. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+2. Constellation. Voltron. All good things. Charge bravely. Fight selflessly. Act honorably. Iros will watch over you. Verenus, Priest of Iros. I think it will see play just because of Constellation again. Karametra's Blessing. 1 white instant common. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's an enchanted creature or enchantment creature, it also gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This will see play because of enchantment creatures being possibly overpowered, hopefully. So, I think it will be fun to play. Warbriar Blessing. 1 generic, 1 green, enchantment or a common. Enchant creature you control. When Warbriar Blessing enters the battlefield, enchant creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Enchant creature gets +0/+2. I think, again, these auras, because of a card I'll mention at the end of the video, are just going to be really good. Even though they're kind of dumb and basic, they're going to be really good. Skola Grovedancer. 1 generic, 1 green, enchantment creature, Satyr Druid, common. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 1 life. 2 generic, 1 green. Put the top card of your library into your graveyard. From the ashes of Night's Revel, I bring the dawn of new growth. God, these cards are so hard to read. So it's a 2/2 for 2 that can help you mill yourself and gain life. Excuse me. This could be pretty cool in like a Simic mill yourself deck. Possibly Simic pacifism mill yourself. So I think it could see play. Maybe. That's a really far stretch, to be honest. But maybe. Actually, I do think this will see play in like a Windgrace deck, possibly, or a Land Matters deck in Commander. Thaumaturge's Familiar. It is 3 generic artifact creature bird common. Flying. When Thaumaturge's Familiar enters the battlefield, scry 1. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I can read this, but I'll try. Maladian mages can't claim the title of Thaumaturge until they have received a gift of omen from the gods. Euphoria likes to give tangible tokens of her favor. And it is a 1/3. Nothing really to write home about. Nylea's Huntmaster. 3 generic, 1 green creature, centaur, shaman. Maybe centaurs might come back. I have heard about that before. Common. When Nylea's Huntmaster enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is your devotion. Yay. And then it explains devotion. 2 green. Nature is stillness and savagery is equal. Oh, nature is stillness and savagery in equal measures, and it is a 4/3, 4/4. It's not the best devotion creature, but shows that we could possibly get some really good effects from devotion as well in this set. The last card of today is Setessan Skirmisher. It is a 1 generic, 1 green creature human warrior. Common. Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Setessan Skirmisher gets +1/+1 until end of turn. God, I can't tell that first word. The Tower of the Fox houses the elite skirmishers who guard the Nessian Wood against trespassers, and it is a 2/1. So again, Constellation could get overwhelming. Even in Pauper, could get overwhelming. I do believe. So before let's I know y'all just saw it. Before we get into the next thing, I want to full art lands, guys. So I saw a post today saying that the full art lands, which I'll show in the next slide here, all of these you'll get 1 per pack. Supposedly, instead of actual lands, I guess, they're going to give these full art lands, which are so cool. But I told my friend, I'm going to buy as many packs as I can so that I can actually put these in my commander decks in place of my lands, because they look so freaking cool. This might be the first set that I actually buy like a deck builders kit, if they're going to offer these in the deck builders kit. The last thing I want to go over before finishing the video, must-have cards. So these are cards I think are just going to be too good with this set. So let's talk about them. The first one, the Leonin of Anticipation. I mentioned before, being able to play some of these cards on an opponent's turn is going to be really, really, really good. And on top of that, Leonin of Anticipation is an enchantment. What more could you ask? Constellation, guys. And Devotion, 2 blue mana. So if Devotion becomes a really big concept, Leonin of Anticipation will help, and will flash you in non-flashable cards. So the next card I want to say, Starfield Mystic. It's already been pretty good for me. I have a deck that I played with Starfield Mystic in Historic recently, which was insane. It was super insane. But discounting these enchantments that we're going to see a lot of, because it doesn't say non-creature enchantments, non-aura enchantments, Starfield Mystic is going to get pretty good and probably pretty pricey because it's already a rare. It is already a rare. And since it's not a legendary, you can get 4. You can discount your creatures by 4 generic with Spark Double, 8 generic. You can discount your enchantments, I mean to say. Excuse me. Got a little too excited there. The next card, because of all these enchantments coming in, Mortify. Mortify is going to be pretty strong because not all enchantments are going to be creatures and just easily destroyed. Some enchantments will need to be targeted. So I think Mortify is going to be a card to be well sought after right now too. This is the card I think people will not see coming. Season of Growth is just going to be insane because we're going to have these constellation creatures that will work really good with aura creatures, and it did really well in my Starfield Mystic deck. I do think Season of Growth is just going to be insane because you can draw cards off of enchantments to target your creatures. And then, if they're enchantment creatures, you can also scry off of them. So that's just going to be a bunch of fun. I'm really interested, and as well, it's an enchantment by itself, but really interested to see how it works with other cards from this set. The last card, and this is mainly for Historic, because it is not in Standard, Satyr Enchanter. Being able to draw cards while playing enchantment spells is going to be insane. So, I really think this whole set, if you've learned anything from it, enchantments, 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 guys. It's going to be insane. Insane. Last little thing I want to say. Starfield Mystic will be able to discount the gods. That's how insane Starfield Mystic is going to be. It's going to be like a $10 card, I think. Could be totally wrong. Could be absolutely wrong. But if we were to go all the way back to Athreos, I believe 4 generic, 1 white, 1 black, if I'm not mistaken, it gets discounted by Starfield Mystic, and you can play it so much earlier, and then it will be insane. It'll be absolutely insane, guys. Anyways, I'm going to stop fanguying over here and just say adieu. Thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, do all that usual YouTube stuff. And this is Sneaky Narcotic, signing off.